Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dietrich, and one of my favorite movies of all time is Hackers. Released in September of 1995, when I was not quite 13 years old, I saw this movie in the theater upon release, and it absolutely blew my mind. I was hugely interested in computers at that time, and the depiction of the hacker lifestyle, New York nightlife, the drama of the hacking itself, and a young Angelina Jolie who was hotter than the surface of the sun had me absolutely transfixed. So yes, this is still one of my favorite movies ever. But how much of this is just nostalgia on my part? Does this movie actually hold up as a good film? Today we are going to venture to find out. First, I'm going to go over what happens in the movie, then I will go over the issues I see with it in my advanced age, and then I will decide if it deserves the high regard that I still hold it in. Let's get started. Hackers opens with a surrealistic scene of a SWAT team running through a tranquil suburban environment with some loser washing a third-gen Firebird on the street, and then they bust into a house to arrest someone, and we get a quick cut to a courtroom scene with a prosecutor describing a hacker named Dade Murphy, alias Zero Cool, who wrote a computer virus that crashed 1,507 computer systems,
including Wall Street trading systems.
The twist here is that Dade Murphy is a little kid, and the judge fines his family $45,000 and forbids him to own or operate a computer or touch-tone telephone until he turns 18. Dade then gets hustled into an old Jeep Wagoneer and more surreal footage with camera flashes going off in the background, and we cut to 7 years later with an older Dade Murphy on a flight to New York with his mom, and a very cool title screen made even cooler by the use of Halcyon and On by Orbital. We then see Dade using a computer, and his mom wishes him a happy birthday, an indication that he is now 18 and able to use a computer and a touch-tone telephone. He immediately gets to hacking again. He calls a television station and uses a primitive form of phishing to get the night watchman to give him the phone number for the modem there, and takes control of the broadcast system to change what is currently playing, a blatantly racist show called America First, to put on an episode of The Outer Limits. However, Dade has apparently trod on another hacker's territory, someone who identifies themselves as Acid Burn. Dade decides to come up with a new hacker name, so he identifies himself as Crash Override, and these two web-based warriors go at it trying to control what videotape the station is playing, demonstrated by robot arms putting tapes into their players, and clips of fights and battles from old movies. This was way before terabyte hard drives and streaming, kids. I remember watching this when I was young and thinking this scene was totally cool and fine, but watching it with more mature eyes, I see it as totally unrealistic and actually kind of stupid. But I also see it for what it is. A good way to portray two hackers battling on the movie screen. Dade eventually loses this fight. The next morning, Dade makes his way to his first day at his new school, utilizing the absolute coolest mode of transportation in the mid-1990s, rollerblading without a helmet. At school, he meets Kate Libby, played by Angelina Jolie. Dade is immediately attracted to Kate, and I was too when I first saw this film in 1995. Kate is apparently some sort of teacher's aide or office assistant or something because she shows Crash Override where his class is. Dade is disappointed he is not in Kate's class, but he assures her that he will be soon. Kate then tells Dade there's an Olympic-sized swimming pool on the roof of the school, and Dade goes up there to find it, only to get locked on the roof with a bunch of other nerds, no pool, and a sudden downpour of rain. Libby sees Murphy coming through the halls soaking wet after this, and has a chuckle at his expense. Cut to computer class, where Dade is hacking into the school's internal system and putting himself in Kate Libby's class. The kid behind Dade sees what he's doing and introduces himself as a fellow hacker named Phantom Phreak after class, and invites him to some sort of hacker convention called Cyberdelia on Friday. Cut to the most amazing place I'd ever seen when I was 12 watching this movie in the theater, complete with cool looking people everywhere, ramps so you could rollerblade around the inside of the place, and Angelina Jolie playing a giant video game which was actually based on a prototype of the PlayStation 1 game Wipeout by Psygnosis. Kate Libby holds all the high scores, and Dade steps up to challenge her supremacy and immediately beats her high score on the first try.
Well, it looks like I'm on top.
Libby looks none too pleased with this development, and Phreak informs Dade that he just made an enemy for life since no one has ever beaten her before. When we get back to class, we learn that Dade Murphy's new lifelong enemy has a mother who is a very successful author with a pop feminism flavor to her work, and Kate learns that Dade is now her classmate. She informs the teacher Dade is not enrolled in this class, but the teacher consults his computer printout and tells her that he is indeed in this class. Later on, our core hacker crew meet up at Cyberdelia again, again, but this time during the day, so they're serving French fries and not pumping the Megamix. These characters have been in the background, but we will properly introduce them now. There's the Phantom Phreak, who invited Dade to Cyberdelia where he beat Kate's high score, Serial Killer, as in Fruit Loops, played by the immortal Matthew Lillard,
Fucking hit me with the phone, Dick!
and Joey Pardella, the youngest and dumbest member of the group, who does not have a cool hacker handle. Dade Murphy proves his mettle to the others by identifying all of these books that are super important to hackers. These are actually real books, by the way. Joey tells the others how he hacked into a bank in another state, and the rest of the group chastises him for committing such a crime across state lines. Phreak asks Joey what the most commonly used passwords are, and he identifies them.
Love, secret, and sex.
And Serial Killer identifies a fourth: God.
Yeah, but don't forget God. System operators love to use God.
After some consternation about who ate all of Phreak's fries, we cut to Joey in his bedroom later that night, hacking into a Gibson supercomputer, a prospect that made Serial very horny in the previous scene.
Get one of those Gibsons, baby.
This particular Gibson is owned by Ellingson Mineral, and their cybersecurity team is comprised of Hal, hello Dave, played by Penn Jillette, who is the assistant to security head Eugene Belford, who is so into hacking that he only goes by his handle, the Plague. Joey is not really trying to do any damage, he just wants to prove to his friends that he can hack at an elite level, so he decides to download a garbage file onto a floppy disk. One thing I will note is all the cinematic graphics that show the inner workings of the Gibson supercomputer may be completely unrealistic, but they still look great, because ironically they were done without computer-generated images, only practical effects were used. Joey's mom busts into his room and unplugs his computer before he can get the whole garbage file downloaded, but not before Hal and the Plague get his call traced. Joey hides the floppy disk he downloaded the garbage file on in an air vent and goes to bed. Cut to our hacker group minus Joey in a very graffito-tagged apartment hallway, and we meet another member of the crew, Lord Nikon, so called because of his photographic memory. Dade introduces himself as Crash Override, and in his very first scene, Nikon has probably my favorite line of the whole film.
What, your mom buy you a pewter for Christmas?
The four of them are hanging at Lord Nikon's place watching TV, where they see a news report with Secret Service agent Richard Gill, who according to Serial is hacker enemy number 1.
Agent Richard Gill, your hacker enemy number 1, man.
Thank you, Mr.
You're a
Gill.
boner.
Then it's time for Hack the Planet, starring Razor and Blade, which appears to be some sort of hacking-related public access TV show. Razor and Blade teach us that we can drop $5 worth of quarters into a payphone, record the sounds the coins make with a microcassette recorder, get your money back, and play those sounds back into the phone and make phone calls for free. Does this actually work? I've never tried it, and I don't even know where I could find a payphone now, but someone please let me know in the comments. The Secret Service then busts into Joey's apartment with heavily armed men and arrest him and confiscate his computer, and of course, Agent Gill is on the scene. In the boardroom of Ellingson Mineral, the Plague explains to his less computer-savvy members of management that a hacker broke into their system and infected it with a virus called the Da Vinci virus, which has already caused one of their oil tankers to capsize, and is threatening to capsize another if they don't pay $5 million to this unknown hacker. We also learn how Joey the novice hacker got into the Gibson supercomputer.
Four most used passwords are love, sex, secret, and God. So, would your holiness care to change her password?
Duke Ellingson, the chairman of the board, suggests they just revert all the tankers to manual control, but the Plague informs him that it is no longer possible because all the tankers are now linked to their main computer and their GPS system. After the board meeting, the Plague explains to Her Holiness, who is Ellingson's public relations manager named Margo, that he planted the virus in Ellingson's computer so he could get the Secret Service to arrest the hacker who broke into their system, because the garbage file Joey partially downloaded just so happens to contain the files for some program the Plague is running to steal $25 million from Ellingson. And of course, Margo is in cahoots with him in this endeavor. The Secret Service can't find the garbage file on Joey's hard drive since he saved what he downloaded onto a floppy disk and hid it, so they release him and put a tail on him to see if they can figure out where he's hiding the files. If one of the Secret Service agents watching Joey's place looks familiar, that's because it's Mark Anthony, the #1 selling salsa music artist of all time who had a couple of crossover hits in the USA around the turn of the century. Hi, Kit Kat. Hi, I love you. Phreak, Serial, and Dade meet up at school and discuss Joey's bust, and Phreak invites Dade to a party at Kate's house, which of course he is down for. Agent Gill figures out that Dade Murphy, the current associate of one Joey Pardella, has a criminal record for hacking, so the Secret Service acts like ICE and goes into Dade's apartment without a warrant, fully armed, and tries to strong-arm him. Plague tries to cozy up to Dade as a fellow hacker, but his efforts are unsuccessful. Plague smashes up Dade's boombox, Dade tells Plague to blow me.
Blow me.
Thank you.
And then Dade has the most amazing dream ever when Angelina Jolie busts into his room, unzips her jacket, and starts making out with him before they are both arrested under Plague's watchful gaze. At least it started off strong. Cut to the party at Kate's house, and the guys go into Kate's room to check out her new laptop.
Check this out, guys. This is insanely great. It's got a 28.8 BPS modem.
And they turn off the lights to see how the active matrix display looks in the dark, and while they are checking that out, Kate and her boyfriend Curtis bust in and start making out on the bed. And Dade blows their cover when he hears one of his cohorts call her Burn. It turns out Kate Libby was the acid burn that beat him in the hacker battle at the TV station at the beginning of the film. When Kate realizes her computer friends are playing with her laptop, she abandons Curtis because
I want to triple the RAM.
she is initially upset that Dade Murphy is there, and they have a little eureka moment when they learn who one another is in the cyber world.
Whoa. Crash and burn.
So here we have our whole good guy hacker crew. Crash Override, Phantom Phreak, Serial Killer, Lord Nikon, Acid Burn, and Joey, who is currently grounded. Acid Burn warms up to Crash Override a little bit when she sees his hacking skills may indeed be elite, and they set up a friendly little wager between one another. The contest is to make Secret Service Agent Gill's life hell through hacking to get one back for Joey, and the judges are Phreak, Nikon, and Serial. This leads to what may be my favorite montage ever in any movie, where Crash and Burn do their hacking from impossibly cinematic locales by connecting their laptops' modems to payphones with acoustic couplers. Kate has Gill's credit card destroyed when he is trying to pay for dinner with a lady. Dade has Gill's office phone flooded with obscene calls after he places a salacious personal ad on his behalf.
I know where you can stick it. I know where you can stick it.
I just want to lick your earlobe.
Kate gets him arrested when she hacks into the DMV computer and puts that he has a DUI and 100 outstanding parking tickets. And finally, Dade kills Gill off, virtually, by marking his file in the Secret Service payroll system deceased.
Our records indicate he's deceased.
What?
While all this was going on, the Plague hacked into the FBI's computer and figures out that Dade Murphy's loyalties lie with his mother, since he chose to go with her when his parents got divorced, and the Plague sends Dade a sweet new laptop with a cheesy-ass video preloaded onto it to try to get into his good graces. Joey's mom finally takes pity on him and lets him out of the house. Here's a fun fact. Joey is portrayed by the actor Jesse Bradford, and the actress portraying his mother is his actual mother in real life. The first thing Joey does is get his computer disk with the partial garbage file and meet up with the Phantom Phreak to give it to him so he can figure out what's on it. Of course, Joey has a tail, so the two of them run their separate ways, and Phreak sticks the floppy disk to the back of the condom machine in the boys' room at school. The next morning, more heavily armed Secret Service agents bust into the Phantom Phreak's bedroom, and he takes a whooping from his hot-blooded Latina mother before they haul him off to jail. He uses his one call to let Kate know he's been arrested, and he's being charged with infecting Ellingson's computers with the Da Vinci virus that is going to capsize the oil tankers, and that he left a computer disk
In that place where I put that thing that time?
Acid Burn then sexily goes into the men's room to retrieve the disc, but to obfuscate her true purpose for the visit, she buys a condom for good measure. Kate and Serial Killer go to Dade to ask his help figuring out what's on the disc that Joey downloaded from Ellingson, but Dade refuses to help them because he's afraid of getting arrested. But he does agree to keep a copy of the disc for them, so they'll have something clean that hasn't been tampered with to give to their attorneys if and when they get arrested. The Plague then contacts Dade asking for a copy of the disc. Somehow he knows that Kate Libby has it, and the Plague has Dade turn on the laptop he gifted him and set it to receive a file. The file that Dade receives is his mother's new hacked criminal record, showing she has been convicted of a bunch of crimes and jumped parole, so she would be arrested and hauled to jail without trial, because that's what the computer says.
Computers never lie, kid.
Dade is loyal to his mother, so he decides to give Plague a copy of the disc, but not before emphasizing that Kate Libby is innocent too, because she didn't even know what was on the disc. This leads to the corniest scene in a movie that is admittedly full of them. Dade waits on the street at night to give Plague a copy of the disc, and a white limousine approaches in the distance, turns its headlights off but leaves its parking lights on, and Plague is holding on to the side of the limo riding a skateboard. He lets go of the limo, grabs the disc from Dade, and goes back to the limo and gets back into it at some point somehow. Probably. Dade seemingly feels immediate remorse for betraying his hacker friends, so he goes over to Kate's place where she, Lord Nikon, and Serial are all trying to figure out what's on the disc. They aren't having much luck, so Dade the supernatural hacker steps in, and we get another little montage of the other three being cool, and Dade hacking his ass off. And why isn't this the meme for when someone is trying to figure something out? I like it better than the Julia Roberts one. Dade eventually figures out that what Joey downloaded isn't a virus, it's a worm that steals a very small amount from each financial transaction Ellingson Mineral does, and it will eventually transfer $25 million out of Ellingson's accounts. If this sounds familiar to you, this is the same scheme that was used previously in Superman 3, and it would be used again in another classic 90s film, Office Space. This little trick does have a name, and it's called salami slicing. Kate wonders who would have put this worm in place, and Dade comes clean about the Plague and the fact that he gave Plague a copy of the files, and he also tells him about his past as Zero Cool. Lord Nikon is very impressed by this fact, but Kate is still pissed off. Zero Cool says he will make it up to them by hacking the Gibson to expose the Plague's culpability in this crime. I put the culpability part in there. They never really said why they were going to hack the Gibson. Our team of hero hackers resolve to work together on this project, so they start a covert campaign to try to figure out how to hack into Ellingson's systems, stealing documents from dumpsters, tapping their phone lines, and trying to get passwords and logins. The Plague analyzes the garbage file he got from Zero Cool and figures out that the hackers had enough of the garbage file to figure out that he's stealing money from Ellingson Mineral. So he launches the Da Vinci virus, which again is going to cause a full oil tanker to capsize and cause an ecological disaster, and Plague calls Agent Gill at the Secret Service and demands he arrest our hero hackers. Gill requests arrest warrant on Zero Cool, Acid Burn, Lord Nikon, and Serial Killer, but he's nice enough to give them until 9 a.m. the next day until they're picked up. Nikon and Serial hear this call from the wiretap and alert Crash and Burn. Kate has the idea to go to Razor and Blade, the host of their favorite TV show, Hack the Planet, for help. Razor and Blade are hanging out in another sweet nightclub, which is apparently their headquarters, and after getting through the crowd, Kate tells them they need help from other hackers to kill Ellingson Mineral's Gibson supercomputer with multiple viruses to prevent the Da Vinci virus from capsizing the oil tanker, and so they can download the full garbage file and prove that the Plague is responsible for all of this malfeasance. Razor and Blade agree to help, so the plan is in place. And if you've ever wondered what band and song are playing when they go into the nightclub, that is Good Grief by the Urban Dance Squad. The next morning at 9 a.m. is when our protagonists are supposed to be arrested, and at that exact moment they are rollerblading towards Grand Central Station in Manhattan, and they've hacked the computer that controls the stoplights to turn them all green at the same time and cause a bunch of accidents, thus slowing down their Secret Service tails and allowing them to make it to Grand Central Station to commence their operation. Joey, the rookie without the handle, is waiting for them, and they get their laptops hooked up to the payphones and get ready to go. Serial Killer has a little bit of nervous jitters or an aneurysm or something at this point, so they send him off to set a distraction elsewhere, and Joey takes his place. They throw all their best viruses at the Gibson supercomputer, while Dade looks for the garbage file with the virus in it. Plague is handling their threat easily in the beginning due to the superior computing power of his Gibson, but then Razor and Blade call and get the international team of hackers on the job, and eventually they overwhelm Plague and Penn Jillette. Dade finds the garbage file they need, but Plague finds him in the computer somehow, I guess, and boots him offline. Joey is the last hero hacker logged in, and he must have spent all his time being grounded, practicing and becoming elite.
Yo, Joey's getting stupid, bitch.
So Dade tells him where to download the right garbage file, and they copy it to a disk, tell Razor and Blade to kill the Gibson.
Kill the Gibson.
Roger that.
Celebrate briefly, and promptly get arrested. On his way out in handcuffs, Dade manages to throw the disc with the garbage file on it in a trash can. As he's being loaded into a police car outside, he spots Serial Killer hiding in the crowd and shouts,
They're trashing our rights, man! They're trashing the fluid data!
to tip Serial Killer off to where he can find the disc. Serial digs through the trash and finds it, and goes to meet up with Razor and Blade. Back at the Secret Service headquarters, Agent Gill is interrogating Crash Override and Acid Burn, and Dade is trying to take the fall for the hacking, saying that Kate is just his girlfriend and she doesn't know anything about computers. Gill has one pretty sick quip for them.
Because you are floating, and I'm about to flush your ass.
Before Dade's mom shows up and makes an impassioned defense of her son, but it isn't nearly as persuasive as serial killer showing up on every TV on Earth thanks to the hacking prowess of Razor and Blade, naming the Ellingson Mineral employees, including the Plague, who were stealing money with the worm, and showing the bank account number where the $25 million was going to be transferred to. The Plague gets arrested on a flight to Tokyo in disguise, and Kate and Dade finally have their first date, and they end up swimming fully clothed in a pool where they can see two high-rise buildings where Dade has apparently hacked the lighting systems to spell out crash and burn. They have their first kiss, and we have our happy ending. So after all that, is this a good movie? Well, yes and no. The positives first. This movie is actually very prescient as far as the computer's importance in society.
He's not enrolled in this class.
Well, he's on my list.
Put the ship's ballast under manual control.
There's no such thing anymore, Duke.
You can sit at home and do like absolutely nothing, and your name goes through like 17 computers a day.
What can I tell you? Computers never lie, kid.
This movie is near as makes no difference 30 years old, and back then a lot of people hadn't realized just how important computers had become to their lives, but this movie pretty well nailed it. There was also the montage where Kate and Dade basically ruined Agent Gill's life by hacking into everything relating to it. This is still possible today. If a group of talented hackers wanted to wreck your life, they totally could. When it comes to the visuals and cinematography in this film, you could argue it's well done, or that it's really corny. I'm gonna go with the former. I think the decision to use practical effects instead of CGI, while slightly ironic, was a brilliant one. The graphical representation of the Gibson supercomputer, while completely unrealistic, still looks amazing and is far more compelling from a visual standpoint than an actual supercomputer from 1995. The opening hacker battle between Kate and Dade is along the same lines. Yeah, it's kind of corny and unrealistic, but it does a good job showing a battle between two hackers in real time, as much as such a thing is possible. Now, on to the bad parts. The plot of this movie is so nonsensical when you break it down that it's hard to take it seriously. At its core, here's what happened. There's a group of hacker kids. One of them is sort of the dumbass of the group, so he decides to prove himself to his peers. He gets lucky by guessing a stupid password to a supercomputer, which I'm not sure is even technically hacking. So to try to prove he pulled this off to his friends, he copies a garbage file, and how this is going to prove anything, I just don't know. And he just so happens to copy a garbage file that has a worm program on it that is in the process of stealing $25 million, and this leads him and his friends to get arrested because the evil guy stealing the money is rolling deep with the Secret Service, and the only way to solve this problem is more hacking. Okay. Another issue I have with the plot is Dade's preternatural hacking abilities. This kid wrote a virus that crashed 1,507 computer systems when he was 11, but then he was banned from using a computer or a touch-tone phone. Even if he snuck around and used a computer occasionally at school or at a friend's house, he probably didn't get a whole lot of practice at hacking for those 7 years. Yet, on his 18th birthday, he was right back in the game hacking it up. And for the contest with Agent Gill, Crash and Burn had to use only the passwords and logins in their own collection. So at this point, this kid has lived in New York for like a month and he had everything he needed to get this done. Look, I'm not always great at suspending disbelief, but if you're going to enjoy this movie, you're going to kind of need to be good at it. But at the end of the day, I still love this movie. Yes, I will admit that there's a lot of nostalgia from when I first saw it as a kid. If I watched it for the first time now as an adult, I'd probably give it a 4 out of 10. But thanks to my amazing nostalgia glasses, even after this more critical look at it, I'll give it a solid 8 out of 10. Do I recommend this movie to you? Probably not, but it will still hold a prized place in my DVD collection. I do, however, recommend that you subscribe to my channel, like my video, and stay tuned for more. And please leave me a comment, let me know if you agree with my assessment of hackers, and have a great day, and hack the planet. Bye-bye. Demonstrated by the robots putting the tapes into their players. Demonstrated by robot arms putting tapes into their players